Before the sun rises, before the markets open, farmers begin their day, each one with a desire to make a difference, no matter where they live or what they produce, just like AGCO. At AGCO, we constantly ask, how can we do more, offer more for our customers, our dealers, and ourselves? How can we innovate further, faster? How can we leverage technology to be more efficient, to help our customers be more productive? How can we deploy the right solutions to the right place at the right time? Driven by our vision to provide high-tech solutions for farmers feeding the world, we operate with accountability, integrity, respect, team spirit, and transparency. This is AGCO. We are proud of the work we do, and even more proud to be working side by side with the world's finest farmers. We transform raw materials to produce world-class, award-winning solutions every farming operation needs. At the end of the day, we all have the same goal. Whether you're a design engineer in Finland, an assembly line worker in France, a farmer growing corn in America, or wheat in Germany, together, we'll feed the world.
Wow. Good afternoon, my fellow Safe Agilists. Every time I watch this video, I get goosebumps. I feel so very proud to be part of this organization where we are building and creating, innovating products that helps our farmers feed us, and by us, I mean you and me, by the basic food that we eat. On stage, I have with me Vikas Kapila. He's an enterprise Agile coach. Back in 2019, that was the first time when I met Vikas. He was a lead instructor in the SPC training that I took. Vikas's passion for agility made a lasting impression, so much so that in 2020, when we decided to move from essential tape to full safe, Vikas was an obvious choice.
Thank you. In the same classroom is when I first met her too, right? So 4 days together, I saw a curious, inquisitive, challenging person in the room. So think about that. You get a call from a change agent, actually a LinkedIn message, almost 9 months down the road. Says, Vikas, can we talk? I'm like, she's an SPC now, okay, great. And the conversation starts. 2 years down, we are here with the customer story. The key thing that I would like to introduce her with, that curiosity, that inquisitiveness, is what made this happen in the last 2 years. So let's step through and see what AGCO has achieved.
Moving on to the agenda, we are here to talk about how engaged change leadership help our organization that spans across multiple continents adopt and navigate the complexities of lean agile way of working through technology, engineering, and industrial cloud context.
So as our abstract said, we'll be talking about 3 things. Applying lean agile values, applying the relentless improvement aspect of it, but also understanding while lean agile seems simple, seems logical, what were the challenges? So why was it not so easy? So we'll talk about all of that as we go through. Cool.
AGCO as a company is passionate about building solutions that maximize value while improving long-term sustainability of the farms for our farmers. Be it configuring a tractor or a grain and protein storage solution, to not only selling those, but to also providing storage solution. AGCO is the only company out there that provides an end-to-end solution for our customers. AGCO as a company has grown exponentially over the years through multiple mergers and acquisitions. It was even more imperative for us to make sure that we had a simplified operating model. With that, we decided to launch a digital transformation into the agricultural technology to the factory floor. In 2018 is when we started our digital transformation journey. We initially started with waterfall. After 1 year of requirement gathering, we realized what we spoke about a year back is no longer relevant for us anymore. Agility is not an option at this point. It is the key for our success. With this, in 2019, we decided to go Agile. But as we all know, there are multiple Agile frameworks out there. Few initiatives in AGCO were already doing Agile, Scrum, and Kanban. But for a program that was as complex as ours, we needed something a little bit more robust. We decided to go with SAFe. And one of the main reasons for doing so was because of the different competencies that SAFe has. Vikas and I will be talking about some of those competencies in our upcoming slides.
Actually, I'll want a shout out from you guys when we talk about a challenge and how we addressed it to identify which competency helped us out there. Are you all going to participate with us? All right. So we'll talk about the lean agile values, the core competencies as we applied them, and you'll tell us which one got applied when. Cool? All right.
All right. Coming from waterfall to responsive. With a brave start, our heart at mind. Our then program leader, Daniel Zaff, who has since then become the CIO of the company, had a vision for this transformation. In May 2019, we decided to create a foundation of new way of working at AGCO. We call it waterfall to responsive. We started with small teams with essential SAFe, and then grew into multiple agile release trains into solution train eventually. Over 2 years, we humped for QPIs, we made muscle memory of good effective behaviors and practices. We learned from our mistakes and then expanded over to multiple value streams as well as portfolios. With an attitude of leave no one behind, we focused on maturing our practices, aligning everyone onto those baselines, and then building up on that foundation.
So, this is what the outcome was. But out there, she talked about at least 3 competencies that have been part of the journey in the last slide. Who wants to take a call out? Can you step back? Step back? No.
Oh, step back. Okay.
See? So which competency happened with the first animation? What competency does that talk about? This is me improv. Exactly. The leadership started brave heart. That's what you need in times of uncertainty. Which one was this one? Right on again. Right? We have a very informed audience here. Which one was this? That's the outcome. It's a combination of all, right? But it's organizational agility, more like continuous learning culture. Depends on which facet of it you're looking at, but let's leave no one behind. It's about building organizational agility. It's about continuous learning culture, right? Cool. So with that, we came to this. What this helped us in that organizational agility aspect is showing us we have 5 portfolios in the organization. This is what we realized, like about start of this year. We will talk a lot about our journey in one of these portfolios, the one digital. Okay? How we applied these competencies in each one of them, what were our challenges, how we got to it. Now, seeing that we only have 20 minutes remaining, let's see how we got through it.
Now, by introducing One Digital as a solution train, we dissolved the silos. With our new farmer-first strategy, we were able to shape One Digital as the new umbrella for the digital product IT. So how did we do that? We did that by maturing and creating this agile governance. We created a transformation, a plan for transformation, which included multiple migrations, coachings, trainings, and continuous improvement.
Right? That's what we did. But what were things that made it happen? We went into enterprise solution delivery as a competency. We looked at solution train. We had this one big 300-person train evolving called DCX, and we started understanding that it was getting too difficult. So we looked in from essential, safe, building up. We got to this point to understand, no, we really need a full safe. Let's talk about enterprise solution delivery. We reorganized around value because the end value we knew was digital transformation, but reorganized so that we could get multiple trains identified, each one with its own core purpose identified to the common farmer-focused customer centricity right there. And we got to this. Now, key thing I would like for you to notice is we did use the RT, ST roles, and we do have them active. But in context, we also found, because of the complexities, we needed something as PGM leadership. What do you think PGM leadership is all about? Program leadership. But it was more of an LPM function, which is yet to come, hasn't been evolved. So we needed coordination of this digital transformation with the existing org, right? Respect the people and culture that's there. So we kind of built that. It doesn't have to be that everything is a collateral damage. We started building together. And that's where the success of this train happened, where we had engaged leadership and they were welcome to the program leadership thing, aware and being part of the system. Cool?
Let's dive down deeper into one of the arts, digital farming solution. Digital farming solution is the art which has all the customer-facing applications which increase efficiency, productivity, sustainability of the farm management while providing seamless omnichannel experience via a single point of contact to our customers. This is a perfect example of how we have arts in two different solution trains, one digital and electronic function group. They come together to build a farmer-focused solution. Now, if I was to dumb it down in a simple layman term, think about of all this embedded electronic technology that's out there, embedded in hardware. It captures all sorts of fun machine-related data. That data gets transferred over to digital platform, which then gets displayed onto the tractors or tablet or any app. This is how the entire thing works. Now, the data that is captured, it helps our farmers plan their crop season better so as to increase the productivity, efficiency, and sustainability of the farm. This data that is captured is even more relevant in today's world, considering the scarcity of food because of the growing population, global warming, and let's not forget the war.
So how did we achieve that? We got Agile in hardware to work for us, but DFS, the digital farming solution, worked with the electronic and fuse group, the two trains. We had them working, coordinating with each other. As data was being collected in the DFS, the data was being used by the EFG, the electronic fuses, on those harvesters, on those tractors. So that integration worked. And the key thing was, some of them had to be updated online, some of them could be pre-done in the manufacturing plant. So getting that together was the key aspect. So that coordination, again, the enterprise solution delivery, working the agile product delivery, the mindset upfront, getting that working was key. Do you think there was small batches requirements there? Or where do you think the big battle of 4 weeks versus 2 weeks for an iteration was? Massive, right? So we'll talk about that shortly.
After we were able to successfully transform from the essential safe to the full safe configuration, transformed into a solution train, we had our esteemed CEO, Mr. Eric Kansoria, attend one of our PI planning sessions as a keynote executive. This is what he had to say. You are the sharp edge of the spear. A lot of what is in a new farmer-first strategy. What you folks are doing is really, really important. Now you can imagine having the CEO of the company come into your PR planning session and give accolades to you. It was a big morale booster for the team members.
So far everything's simple? Right. It seems simple, but not easy. So let's talk about the challenges we faced. But the morale booster was a big help, right? And getting to that was the key part. I think that was a big stepping stone, getting our CEO in, getting the leadership engaged. Yeah.
All right. So we are all aware of our basic ceremonies, Agile Scrum ceremonies. We are all aware of that. But knowing about those versus understanding them versus actually implementing them, it's different. We wanted to make sure that all our team members, our Scrum team members, they not only knew about these ceremonies, but they understood it and were able to implement this. So how did we achieve that? We made sure we had a program coach assigned to each art. Our goal here was to train our Scrum Masters to be the team coach, to make them understand, to live the Scrum values as well. So our goal over here was to transform our Scrum Masters into team coaches. In 2022 is when we decided to move from essential safe to full safe configuration, right? It brought in a lot of changes for us. Initially, we used to have 4-week sprint cycles, and we used to have towards the end dedicated testing iterations as well to make sure that we were producing better quality. Now in 2022, we decided to do away with that. With our 4-week iterations, we leaned down to 2-week iterations. What that helped us was to get better business results. We were able to get better quality because now my integration was happening every 2 weeks instead of 4 weeks. The PI predictability also became better because we were finding the pain points earlier in the cycle rather than later. Talking about this moving from 1 art to 5 arts, it sounds like a simple change, but there was a lot of elements that went into that. Be it from creating this agile governance, to simplifying some of these naming conventions that we see out here, to creating a template for each of the work items that we have in Azure DevOps, and then to migrating all the existing teams into a new way of working. It was a collaborative effort from the Agile transformation team. The Agile transformation team had to be the relentless source of energy. We held multiple meetings with the stakeholders, with the program leaders, with the team members to understand their pain points. Once we got that, we created a prototype. We piloted it with few teams. And once we got an agreement from them, we started training them and then migrated them into the new way of working.
So let me ask a question to the room. Which one do you think was easier? Going from one train of 300 people to 5 trains, which we found was not actually 300 people, but 400 people, because 100 were hidden that we didn't find. The other aspect, interestingly, was going from 4 weeks to 2 weeks iteration. Because she says we decided in 2022, we didn't decide. It was all of 2021. Micro workshops, multiple conversations on both these topics. Yes, we kicked it off in one PI, the first PI of 2022, but it was a journey there. So which one do you think had more pains involved? Convincing the organization to move from 1 train to 5, or to move from 4 weeks iteration to 2 weeks iteration? 4 weeks to 2, right? It was equally painful. The difference was, one, you were dealing with the leadership, the other, you were dealing with the team members. Right? It was like we were sandwiched between the two. So think about that. And Harry is here, so I'll give a shout out. He actually had to be brought into one of the conversations, like, Vikas, you're just here, you're just challenging us for no sake. We had to bring in Harry to have that conversation and say, no, see, safe framework team says so too. But we really need, and this will be benefit, these are the proof, these are the case studies, and it really helped, right? It's not just about me feeling incompetent at that moment saying, I can't do it by myself, so no. I have to say, you need a third voice, you need a fourth voice. Let's pull that in. listen to their experiences, because I don't have all the safe experience. I may have decent amount of it for 7 years, but there are the people that have other variety of. Let's pull them in. And that conversation, those things really helped as well. As much as I would love to say Enterprise Agility did a great job, no, it was the community that helps at that time. And we really need to focus on that as well, pulling in from the community. Thank you.
And hence the title, it was simple, not easy. So even while we were moving from essential safe to full scale model, one of the pain points that we constantly heard from everyone, and remember this, we went through essential safe to full safe during the peak of COVID, right? So one of the big pain points that everyone brought up was that we have way too many meetings. We had to find a way to streamline some of those meetings. For us, the path was simple. We wanted to make sure we have trained our RTEs and STEs so much so that they are able to effectively facilitate some of these meetings, be it Scrum of Scrums, PO Sync, Art Sync, Solution Train Sync. We want to make sure that all these meetings were effective. And once they started becoming effective, all those ad hoc meetings and the additional noise, it automatically dwindled down for us. Our goal was also to make sure that there's no delay in handovers from one solution train to another solution train. Hence, we also decided to go with one PI calendar. Proud to say that starting next month, the entire AGCO will be on one PI calendar. And one of the main reasons for doing this was to reduce the handovers between one solution train to another versus the other solution.
Just to lay the impact of that, AGCO is a company that's across all continents. Latin America, Central America, Northern America. If I continue 2 continents, but 3 there. Europe, Asia. So across all geographies, they'll be having one PI calendar. Think about that conversation. Now, the key one over here, what's that digital hurdle over there? It's not unsafe framework. So what's that? That was an introduction of something where the program leadership, right? Because not everybody is safe yet. The digital portfolio is one digital. There are other portfolios we've already added. They have an influence, right? They have takeaways from this portfolio and they have gives to this portfolio. So we have this huddle, more like an LPM function that helps us have that sync point and that arrangement align along the journey as we evolve, because there's ways to go, miles to go, right? So, to achieve all of those meetings to be effective, to be conversational, first things first, something that Dean said this morning too, visualize the web. So this is a structure we kind of built up to visualize our work and make sure, and we put some policies in that space, right? That the stories need to be done in 2 to 3 days, the features need to be done in 8 weeks. The PIs are 10 weeks, but the features need to be done in 8 weeks so that we still have the IP iteration for the purpose that it is. We need to ensure if we have capabilities that they don't go beyond 2 PIs or so, because sometimes the feature coordination may not happen effectively. Give ourselves some breathing space, not be so dogmatic about it has to be 1 PI. That's relentless improvement. We are getting there, not there yet. And then finally looking at the epics. Now, I've talked about them bottom up, but the conversation is always top down. You identify outcomes, you have your epics, you slice them into capabilities. So having this visualization, having people understand that seamlessly was key part of the journey. That why we are doing what we are doing. It's just not taking a big chunk of work and putting it into an epic, or taking a set of features and culminating them into an epic. No, epic has its own outcome, and how do we slice that outcome into giving incremental benefits? So that building that whole structure was key and important in this journey. So those were 5 key major pain points that we thought would be helpful in this particular. There is journey ahead, right? As we just talked about. We just talked about one of the 5 portfolios, right? So let's see what achievements have been achieved in this journey already.
Ramdas, popular, world-renowned psychologist and Harvard professor, said, information is bits of data. Knowledge is putting them together. Wisdom is translating them. So with this whole migration into solution training, we had all sorts of data captured in Azure DevOps, but we never really found an effective way to utilize it, to use it. We created multiple dashboards and KPIs that help us some, but if I'm being very candid here, we still haven't found a way to capture our OKIs and how we are marching towards our PI objectives. That's a journey that we have yet to take, and we are working on it. No transformation is complete if you do not invest in your people. Fortunately for AGCO, our leadership team realized this early on. We trained over 400 people into safe way of working. Be it SPC trainings or leading safe or safe for POPM, Scrum Master, architects, safe for teams, you name it, we did it, right? Early on during the trainings, we got constant feedback that the people are not able to relate to some of these trainings because they wanted AGCO-specific examples. Worked closely with Vikas into incorporating some of this AGCO-specific context into all of the popular trainings that we have. Now that helped them understand some more. But we also had some team members out there who had never learned Agile. So for them, putting them straight into the SAFE trainings, we would have not recommended that. So for those guys, what we did was we introduced Introduction to Agile training. We did Introduction to SAFE training. Then all of them, they did some of those trainings out there which was relevant to their roles. Once they did that, we still wanted them to have an edge on how to go about doing their job. Now that they had the better understanding, what does their day look like? So to cater to that, we started with a day in the life of Scrum Master. What does a day in the life of product owner looks like? We had multiple webinar series for our product owners and product managers to understand on different topics, be it WizChip or how to get business value, how to write better epics. We are in the process of curating a webinar series for our architects as well to understand. In SAFE, we have different levels of architects. At what context, what level of architect is contributing towards. So in addition to all of that, we curated a whole bunch of trainings that was very specific to AGCO. We did multiple coaching sessions for them as well. And we had a plan for all of that. So as you can see, this is one of the calendar that looks like that we planned all of these trainings for them.
So what's next? We've done everything? No, we've just done one portfolio, right? And that too, the early days of the journey. So if you look at it, we have a few more portfolios to go through, improve on the existing portfolio, right? What we did, at least start off with, have our operational value streams identified. Know what the dependencies between them are. Deep dive into digital solutions. That's what we talked about. And then slowly and steadily, yes, grain and proteins is coming along. The tractor solutions are coming along. EFG is part of that. And so sowing the seeds in the farmer terms, waiting for the harvest, right? But it's fruitful. It's fulfilling. It's helpful because it's helping organizations move the needle in the right direction. Maybe a little too slow for others, but in the right speed for the right organization. That's the key. And there is no pace. You have to find your own pace, and that's the key out there. Let's look at the benefits we've achieved with this pace.
So some of the benefits I spoke about earlier, but these are the summarized view, right? We achieved continuous value delivery. This enabled better partnership between business and IT. We got better NPS scores, which helped us win some awards, and who doesn't like awards, right? And then, of course, improved employee engagement and productivity by 20%. We have all heard the saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. This transformation is far from over. We have achieved some milestone, but our journey is far from over. So what have we achieved so far? One portfolio view, one reporting, one way of working, a standardized CI/CD pipeline. So what's next for us? We want to make sure our focus is on farmers and not on the systems. We want to have one innovation funnel, one backlog management, one lean agile culture. Now let me ask you, audience, what do you think our next step should be? If you can just write down on the poll, on the app.
It's like out of the three, which one would you say should be the first one? And if it's too much to write in the app, you can always shout out.
You can just shout out there, yes.
Right? Culture, I knew it. At least that I knew the two of you would say. As they say, yeah, culture is the first thing we start working on, and it's the last thing that gets done. Why is that? Slow, but culture is the complex organism that's always working. It's evolving. Do you really think the culture they had 2 years ago is the culture they have today? No, it's evolving. It may not be where we want it to be yet. 2 years from now, it's still be evolving. It's that continuous learning that is there. So we want to build that learning organization. That's where we want to get to, that we are anti-fragile, as they say, right? Rather than being fragile. And that's the key. Thank you all for participating with us. Looking forward to the questions.
All right, we have a few questions in the app. Feel free to continue to ask and vote up the ones you want to hear. So the first most voted question is, do you still have multi-year controller/product hardware release cycles? If not, how do you go about shortening it? If yes, how are you able to coordinate with develop on cadence and release on demand?
So our first step towards that was making sure we are all on the one PI calendar. So like I said, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? We still have multi-year plan, but our first step towards shortening that gap was getting everyone to agree to one PI calendar and then see the benefits.
Yeah, and if I were add the clarity on that multi-year plan, it's still milestone-based, right? It's about what the farmers need. It's not about how we are getting it done. So the multi-year plan is not about the items we will work on. It's more about what we need to achieve. So farmer focus still there, and that's the key thing. And what we have not highlighted enough is the strategic theme that if you could hear was farmer focus, right? Not systems. And that's the key thing to take away, is that has helped. We do need a roadmap, right? Even in SAFE, we say we have 5 roadmaps. The enterprise roadmap, the portfolio roadmap, solution roadmap. So they are there, but which is more coarse, which is more fine grained. Thank you.
All right, next question is from Harry. What challenges did you have moving hardware engineers to Agile, and how did you resolve them?
We haven't yet resolved that, Harry.
The challenge is work in process.
Work in progress there. We probably anticipate a few more sessions with you before we get there.
But the good thing is they're engaged now.
They are engaged now, yes.
And that's the key thing. And what helped us with that was what Seema talked about in her presentation, is where we started catering our leading SAFE. We started catering our SAFE for teams with integrations of the workshops that Harry and team put together, and that I worked with them on beta to get there, was integrating those stories, integrating principles. Like standard leading SAFE has principles, examples of software engineers and stuff, but we started taking examples from the Agile for Hardware workshop that has been created and talking about them in my leading SAFE, talking about them in the SAFE for teams, and actually bringing them along that they feel like, yes. And then when they had more questions, I would say, let's have a workshop and let's see what do you think would be the right answer in your context. Because that's key. Context is important. So it's still a journey.
The next question is, and it's a good one, how did your teams make time for all the learning?
So we made sure we carved out some time for that. We had dedicated days there, and like you saw, the roadmap that we had in place. So it wasn't decided randomly that we're going to do that. We had multiple of the same sessions going on. So one training was scheduled on 3 or 4 different days. And we sent out the meeting invites weeks in advance so that they know this is coming. And then we made sure the leadership were aware of it, and our leaders were very engaged in this. They made sure that they motivated the individuals to they attend these trainings. One of the important things to get the engagement was also that we just did not decide to do it. It wasn't top down for us. What we did was we had a lot of engagement with them. We spoke to them. Hey, what is it you like to see differently? And when they came back to us with answers, we made sure we were able to answer that. Even with all the trainings that we conducted, we said, this is what we plan on doing. Do you see any reason why this would not make sense or would it not solve your purpose? Reach out to us. And then there was a couple of questions we received. Hey, this doesn't work for us, this doesn't work for us. We did not ignore any of those questions. We answered them. We told them, yes, it makes sense, and we incorporated that. If it did not make sense, yes, this is very specific to your team. As an enterprise, as a solution trained, we cannot do this, but here's an alternative for you to do that. So we made sure that those questions were answered. We just did not say, this is the way you have to do it. It wasn't my way or the highway. It was a very engaged level engagement at all levels, from team members to the leadership.
So the key takeaway, when you're a change agent, you're not a trainer. You're a consultant. Right? And that's key. And that's one thing I would like all of us in the room to take away. The SPC, C says consultant. We need to consult. We need to have that aspect in our conversations, right? It's not about throwing the book at them. This is what SAFE says. This is what Agile says. It's about having that conversation with them and bringing them along in that conversation.
This one was voted a couple times. If there was one thing you would do differently, what would it be?
I don't think I would do anything differently, to be honest. So remember when I said back in 2019 is when we started this journey to Agile, from waterfall to responsive. We just did that. We did Agile trainings, and teams were just pushed into that at that point, I felt. And they were learning, changing from waterfall to Agile. We did some trainings, they got it. But what happened was, after 6, 8, 9 months of stumbling through that, trying to work into the new way of working, there were a lot of pain points that was called out. And getting those pain points were important for us as well. So we made sure the next time when we did all these trainings, when we moved from essential to solution train, we addressed all the pain points and we did it the right way. So I wouldn't say that it was a mistake. I would say it was a learning experience. And it was good because now we have a foundation of new way of working. Now we know exactly how we want to move forward. And we don't want to stumble through it.
And what that means is the other 4 portfolios are not going to go the same path that the first portfolio went. They will learn from that and adapt a new way of doing it, but the end goals will still remain the same. So it may not be a 2-year journey for them. It may be 3, 6, 9 months journey for each one of those as they adapt these ways of working, because we have a lot of learnings about how to address hardware challenges, how to address the leadership challenge, what it takes, because the leadership is now aligned. So that organizational agility helps us here.
All right, and the last session before we close, or question, how are you supporting middle, I lost it. How are you supporting middle leaders changing how they support their direct reports?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
How are you supporting middle leaders?
Excellent question. And this is something similar was asked in our Voice of Customer yesterday as well. So what we did was, remember in my earlier slides I spoke about when we were doing all this introduction to Agile trainings, we made sure we kept a section in there. We added a section on the roles in there. So what we did was we took AGCO-specific titles, so to speak, and we mapped it down to the SAFE roles. There were not always one-to-one mapping there. In fact, even in AGCO, we still have IT leads in there. But what we were able to do was, we said that forget about the title. This is your role and this is your responsibility. So we were proactive about that, and we called out that this is your role, this is your responsibility. Forget about the titles. Does that make sense?
One thing also I'll add that you did probably missing is we added specific mentoring sessions with them to have a conversation with them about what it means to be a coach, what it means to be a servant leader. So like a lot of times we say that a servant leader is a person who works themselves out of a job. And if you just say that to them, what happens? I have bills to pay. I'm not working myself out of a job, right? So, but the key element that we wanted them to realize is it's working yourself out of a job, not the job, right? So what does it mean? Enable, empower, engage your team members to do things so that you don't have to repeatedly do it for them. And now you have a different problem, different bottleneck to go solve for, right? And so they help them understand what it meant to shift from being a command and control leader to being a servant leader. It's not also about just bringing in breakfast every morning or just bringing in coffees every morning either, right? So having that distinction conversations when she says role-based intro to Agile, what is yours, was key element, and then following it up with some mentoring conversations. Sometimes it's great. Do we have any outside now?
All right, so that's all the time we have for this session. An applause again.